Lacto-fermentation is typically done with a brine containing a large amount of salt. The brine promotes the growth of good bacteria while preventing mold. People with certain medical conditions, however, should avoid high amounts of salt, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the benefits of lacto-fermented foods. I'll show you how to perform a low-salt lacto-fermentation right after this. I am performing this fermentation on red cabbage. Like most cabbage ferments, you typically add salt to the dry cabbage to get it to self-brine. The salt causes the cabbage to release its stored water and becomes the brine for the ferment. This is unlike other vegetable ferments which require the addition of brine. However, we are going for a low-salt fermentation here, so I have modified the process a bit. Chop a head of cabbage. This head of cabbage filled a half-gallon jar with some left over. Add 2 tablespoons of sea salt to the cabbage and let it sit for several hours, stirring and compressing the cabbage occasionally. Afterward, rinse and drain the cabbage in chlorine-free water several times to remove as much salt as possible. Chop 4 dried chili peppers in half and add to the jar. Peel and crush 8 garlic cloves. Add a small handful of peppercorns. Add a half cup of brine from a previous ferment. This provides the good bacteria to kickstart the process. You can also use freeze-dried fermentation starter easily found online. Fill the jar with your chopped cabbage. Fill the jar with water kefir up to the neck of the jar. Use a glass weight or other device to submerge the cabbage below the brine. Attach a lid to the jar. If using a standard lid, be sure to burp the jar daily for the first week. After only 24 hours, you can see the fermentation process is already started. The CO2 produced by the fermentation creates bubbles that push the cabbage upward, forcing liquid out through the cap. You might ask why I salt the cabbage at all. The purpose of pre-salting, in this case, is to shrink the cabbage prior to putting in the jar. This allows me to pack the jar with much more cabbage. If I skip this step, the cabbage will shrink after the first week of fermentation, leaving me with only a partially filled jar. If that's okay with you, then you can skip the pre-salting step and make this a completely salt-free fermentation. Check the cabbage after a week to test progress. It should have the typical tart flavor of lacto-fermentation without all of the salt. If you found this video helpful, please click on that thumbs up button. Until next time.